And let me say, first of all, it's a beautiful day in Wood County. I love coming back up here. It's one of my favorite places in the state. I think you know, as the state attorney general, I would frequently come up to this park, whether it's having wonderful food at your restaurant or visiting so many of the other amazing places in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This is a very special place. And I've been up here a number of times already since I've been sworn in as governor. And I want to make sure that the people of this area know that we're going to be doing everything imaginable. We need to lift up our state economically. We need to grow the number of jobs, help address a lot of the tougher economic conditions. And we're going to be talking a lot more about that and rolling different proposals out to make sure that we're helping families who are hurting. We're getting more job opportunities available. And we're actually going to be building, utilizing the wonderful resources that we have, because as federal monies slow down into the state, it's critically important that we become even more innovative and creative and looking for dollars that are going to, we can leverage things that are happening locally, tapping into our energy resources and building new structures, like our microgrids data center bill. It's a great, great opportunity. And since that bill passed, I've been working it, and we're going to have some announcements. It's premature to say them today, but we're getting good response so far. And this is an example of what you can do when the private sector of West Virginia comes together and you're able to tap into your energy resources. So energy is important. And of course, in West Virginia, we have a lot of unique resources. But no economic environment can really succeed without having the right type of infrastructure and resource support. And we know that. And that frequently involves local cooperation, state work, sometimes federal work as well, and having those federal matches. So I'm here today for a very special announcement. As we're working to advance economic growth and job creation in West Virginia, I want to make sure that we have that best type of infrastructure. I also want to make sure we're safeguarding our environment. We know that we have some pretty incredible rivers and streams and lakes that drive tourism and allow us to enjoy our way of life. And also, part of what we always think about through our waterways is how we have safe drinking water. Safe drinking and bathing water. That's something that we can't do without. We know that this is an area that West Virginia has faced some challenges in the past. When I first took office, I began to look at different ways we can leverage some of the resources that we have, and we found some opportunities. Just last month, I awarded 3 grants in different parts of the state to support water and sewer projects. That was one in Calhoun County, one down in McDowell County, and then one in Barber County. These are really good programs, and they're going to provide infrastructure updates to those communities that are in need. They're going to improve public health, and they're going to help support economic growth because we're creating that baseline that allows businesses to flourish. Today, though, I'm here to announce other steps to support clean drinking water infrastructure, and they are very good for Wood County. First, statewide announcement. I'm announcing that through the Infrastructure and Jobs Development Council, West Virginia will be investing $20 million new dollars in water and sewer projects. And because this investment unlocks a federal match, West Virginia is now going to have $120 million for water infrastructure projects across the state. Now, a lot of those have been pre-committed, and we're going to be talking about those announcements in the upcoming weeks and months ahead. But this is really good news for West Virginia, because you can't have a good infrastructure without good water systems. That's not a Republican or a Democrat issue. We should all be in agreement on that. So I'm really pleased about that. I want to thank the legislature for their work, because without their decisions making this happen, it would be hard for us to step up and use that creativity and employ the matches. So I'm grateful for the folks who are here today. I have Matt Heritage, I have Senator Asinger, I have Delegate Fehrenbacher. We have some good people that are with us, and they're working hard to help this part of the state out. This is a high priority part of West Virginia, and I want to make sure that we're continuing to address issues of need to the Mid-Ohio Valley. A couple specific new awards that we're announcing today. We have one actually in Tucker County. That's the town of Davis in Tucker County. It's going to be receiving $480,000 in a grant from the IGTC. That's going to get matched with some other federal resources. That's going to help that town continue to build out its water infrastructure. That's going to help a lot of people in Davis. We also know that they're going to be receiving some low-interest loans that are really beneficial. Then, here in Wood County, I'm announcing that we are awarding $8.2 million in a Clean Water State Revolving Fund to the Union Williams PSD. That's significant. They'll also receive $25,000 extra dollars from the Infrastructure and Jobs Development Council. Now, here's what these funds are going to be used for. We think that a lot of times you want to get out in front. There are areas that are in really tough shape, but also there are areas that degrade over time. You want to make sure that you're being proactive before you have really horrible conditions with your waterway. Here, we're being proactive in Wood County and getting out in front of some of the issues. And so these are dollars that will be used to help on wastewater and sewer treatment. It's my understanding that the bidding will commence within the next few months. And so it's hopeful we can really get going on this. But it's a big win for Wood County and for this part of the state. And it's just, we're going to keep doing this. Infrastructure matters. Whether we're talking about water infrastructure, whether we're talking about internet, broadband, whether we're talking about roads. You know, you see we're really focused on a lot of the issues on secondary roads and the bridges. We have to make sure that our bridges are not failing. We have to do all of that. And then we continue to invest in our people and look for the incredible economic opportunities that are out there. We're laser focused on more jobs and hoping the conditions here in West Virginia grow. We have to lift up our standard of living. We have to get more people to work. That's critical. All these infrastructure projects are going to help make that happen. But as governor, I also want to prioritize our state's water infrastructure. I know that we have many challenges that we face, and we're going to get through them. We had to make some tough decisions earlier this year to address some of the financial issues for the next year. We did that. We did it as a team. We worked together. We're going to do it again into the future as you see additional challenges. But with those challenges also come incredible opportunities. And I'm excited about that. And I think that the Mid-Ohio Valley can help lead the way. And I'm excited to listen and learn from you to do more to help this part of the state and every part of West Virginia. But our residents do deserve to have clean, safe drinking water. I think today's awards are going to make real progress in this area to make that happen. And I'm glad to be here today. This is part of a longer trip that we're having. Last night I was up in Wheeling dealing with some flood-related issues. This morning we had a mini town hall in Wetzel County about 7:15, 7:20 in the morning. And we came back down here. Then we're going back up to Wheeling. We actually have some important flood-related announcements. It's really been a tragedy what's happened up there in terms of the loss of life. But I will tell you this, it really showed the resiliency of the West Virginian spirit. There are so many people who stepped up in the community, have made a huge difference to help their fellow man, brothers and sisters working together, the state stepping up with our highway department, with our National Guard, our DP, and everyone to really make sure that we're helping those communities that are affected transition to a better place. So I'm going back up there, and then I'll be heading back up into the top of the Northern Panhandle. I want to make sure I'm listening to what's on the minds of people and taking action. And we have to keep growing economically. That's critical. We need to focus on job growth and development. We need to make sure we're helping lift up the standard of living, improving our educational attainment in West Virginia. A lot of big things in store, but glad to be with you today and make this big announcement, $8.2 million. That should be pretty helpful, right? Right, Commissioner? Yeah. Good. So I want to thank people for coming. I'd love to turn it over to folks who want to make any remarks? Matt, do you want to say anything?
Absolutely, thank you.
Oh, and Matt's doing a great job as our soon-to-be Commerce Economic Development Secretary. He's really been quite good because he's helping the reorganization, and he knows the importance of prioritizing economic development with a broader, newer strategy that I think is going to be even more successful.
Well, thank you, Governor. Yeah, it has been an honor to work with Governor Morrisey, and just as he said, he is investing in this state. He is looking to bring this state to that next level, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with him. But as a resident of Wood County, lifelong resident, it's great to be here. I'm so proud of what's happening in this state. I had the opportunity just recently to look at what's happening with WVUP, the growth there, the economic opportunities we have in Wood County and the rest of the state are incredible. I want you to know that the Commerce Department is here to help, and we want to support any of these initiatives we can. Thank you so much, Governor.
Yeah, so great. That's great. Well, thank you. He'll keep doing good work, and he certainly lets me know what's going on in this part of the state, so I appreciate it. Senator, would you like to say a few comments?
Real quick, thank you, Governor, and thanks everyone for coming. I appreciate very much what the governor's been doing for our area. I don't know how many times you've been up here just since you've been elected and bringing this money to our area. It's a great thing, so we appreciate that very much. And we look forward to a great future for West Virginia, I believe, under your leadership. And so West Virginia has been rising. I believe to the west. I've been in this legislature 11 years, and not that there haven't been lumps and potholes along the way. We are in the right direction and on the way to prosperity, a great economic future, and I'm looking forward to your leadership for 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Senator. It's been a great partnership here. I'd also want to recognize Delegate Fehrenbacher, who we worked closely together on the data center bill, and I appreciate your hard work, Delegate. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
Governor, thank you for coming here with this announcement. As you mentioned, infrastructure is bedrock for our existing West Virginians, but it also is a requirement we found for us to be viable sites for economic development and job creation. So although $8 million is a wonderful grant, we're going to be coming to you and creating some other additional opportunities to get additional infrastructure investment, and hopefully that will benefit not only the Middle Ohio Valley, but the whole state of West Virginia.
See, they're using the opportunity of giving money. They're already getting the next request.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Great. Well, I appreciate it, and rest assured, I'll be back a lot again. You know that. It's been too long since I've had some good food at some of your wonderful establishments. So we are busy, by the way, doing the Mountaineer Mile. That's going well, but we've got to still watch some of the food intake. So what I'd like to do now, if there's any member of the media, I'm happy to take any questions from the media. Anyone here?
Yeah, Governor.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate a little bit about how supporting infrastructure projects like this one here in Wood County, the one in Hunter County, how does this relate to the bigger picture goals of broader economic development, generally making West Virginia more competitive in neighboring states?
Absolutely. So whether we're talking just about the well-being of our citizens, because we all need clean, safe water, that's a fundamental. You have to always be thinking about the basics. I've always been a believer that to grow economically, you have to have the basics intact. That means you have to have good, clean water. You have to have the basic infrastructure on sewer. You have to have roads. When people drive on the roads, they feel it. That's important as well, to be doing the right investment in terms of roads and bridges that are safe as well. That was one of the troubling things that I saw earlier in the year when the feds were threatening to change our match rate because there was an inadequate investment on the bridges. So we had to run toward the fire and start to address that issue. That's what we do. And then broadband, that's also not just a want, that's a need. And in today's society, to compete from an economic perspective, you have to have those basic infrastructure tools in place in order to then attract the companies that you need. Obviously, when you're attracting business, you're looking at a whole series of issues. And people look at the infrastructure, but people also look at the financial situation, the tax code. They look at the regulatory environment. One of the things I'm really very proud of is we've been working very hard to cut the red tape. Some of the bills that we're doing from a one-stop permitting perspective have the ability for a person to go in and get what they need right away. And this new data center bill, where you have a data economy liaison, you go in and go to one person, you get what you need right away. All that's meant to compete better with the other states that we touch. And you'll be hearing in the upcoming months, we'll continue to talk about this backyard brawl concept that we have, where we're trying to be superior economically to the other states that we touch. But it all starts with the basics, right? You have to have the right type of infrastructure, and then you have to be competitive on taxes, on regulation, on licensing. We have the uniform licensing opportunity, the reciprocity. It's another good bill. That's going to help bring more people here to Wood County. We might get a few people from across the river to come in, because all you have to do is you have to become a resident, and if you were had a license in another state, boom, you can get right to work here in West Virginia. Easy. We want to be easier to work in than any other state. So that's part of it. Water and infrastructure is a critical piece of it.
Speaking of the flooding in the northern part of the state right now, looking ahead to next year, the next legislative session, I'm curious if you have any thoughts about, in terms of your budgetary goals for 2027, putting money towards the Flood Resiliency Trust Fund, which did get funded in this last legislative session.
Yeah, so thank you for the question, and I would note that we've worked closely with the legislature, and obviously we've been addressing a number of the items out there. There's money set aside for a number of flood-related projects. Milton Flood Wall is a good example. I think that the state had put in minimum of $25 million. It may be a bit more. And then beyond that, I just signed off on some recent investments for some studies to make sure that we're addressing areas that are more prone to flooding. So there are investments that are being made, and more have to occur as well. The fact is that we do want to have some additional discussions about that. The flood plan from back in 2004 was really never implemented. So if you go back to 20 some odd years, there wasn't much done to implement it. What we need to do is we actually have to go and prioritize and try to address those issues. I'm very open to working with the legislators and to developing a collaborative approach to make sure that we're addressing things that need to be addressed up front in terms of resiliency. But I know that the legislature and the executive have worked together on a number of those projects over the years, and I want to make sure that we continue that. But everything's always on the table. We have to make sure we're engaging in prevention when we can. We also have to recognize sometimes there are really tough situations with Mother Nature. What happened up in Ohio County, where you had 4 inches of rain over a 40-minute period. You ask the people there'd probably be almost nothing that you could do to stop that type of occurrence. But certainly there are things you can do to engage in prevention and have that resilience, and we're very open to that, and we want to work with the legislature to make that happen. Any other questions from the media?
Yeah.
Third question, go ahead. TNP, you're hot today.
One more, going back to my previous question, specifically with this Flood Resiliency Trust Fund, the legislation created in 2023.
Yeah.
Well, it's in the name, Flood Resiliency, right? I guess I'm curious, why wasn't, as the governor, you made your budget recommendations at the start of the legislative session. Is there any particular reason why that wasn't one of
No,
those?
I can tell you this, and I think the legislature, I think, would affirm this. The legislature affords the executive monies through civil contingency, and there are various funds, and there are funds that exist actually for flooding. In fact, there was money, as I mentioned, for the flood wall. There's money for the floods that occurred in the past that has been utilized. In fact, we have spent a considerable amount of money dealing with the aftermaths of these floods, obviously down south and then up in Ohio and Marion County. So certainly there are resources that are available. They're being used to try to be as helpful as possible. Are we always open for better ways to do it? Of course we are, and we want to work on that. But make no mistake, there are investments that are always being made to try to address that. And I think those are good discussions we can have It's not a question of whether resources are going in, it's a question always of how much and what you're trying to prioritize. So make no mistake, I mean, there are monies that are available. We've tapped into our civil contingency fund to be able to address some of those issues. You know, to give you the example, when you're doing some of the studies on certain areas that are vulnerable to floods, that was civil contingency, tapping into federal match money that was available. So whether you call it in one fund or another, there are activities that are going on, but of course, you always want to learn and do better, and we're open to doing better and better into the future. I hesitate. Should I ask? You have one more question from the media if you want.
I'm good.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much. I see Delegate Chris is here. Thank you, Delegate, for coming. I appreciate it. And I'm grateful that you're all here. And I know that I'm heading back up to the flood areas, and we're going to spend a bit of time there in the upcoming days. But know that I'm going to come back. I love this part of the state. I'm going to keep coming back again and again and again. And any issues that come up that you think I should be made aware of, please let me know, and we're going to do our best to try to address them. Warren, nice to see you.
Thank you, Governor.
All right. Thank you, and God bless.